Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I'm your host Martin Wong, and today with our SMARTRobie trading idea, I hope that many of you may have get a bit of relief what we have seen in the US market. Now that's right, and you have saw also on Monday night the US Dow Jones fell almost 4% and came back rebound with up another 0.5%, and the same thing also go for last night when the Dow Jones went down by almost down by 800% and then closed up with a 64. Of course, unfortunately, Nasdaq did not close back up. So what does this mean? So stay tuned and watch out when we get on to the US segment in here. So let's take a look at what we have for you in our morning news roundup. And of course, today is Wednesday. That's right, Wednesday we'll be looking some stage 2 stock trade idea. And definitely right now, what I want to share with you just on top of me here, switching to a wider chart, is where the market is. Now, like it or not, the KLCI market has gone through some sort of pressure selling that we've seen on the chart on the right hand side. You could see there, ever since turning red Pentagon, the market has broke through the horizontal ATR stop loss. That means market has sort of likely to move sideways from here and more likely to getting some sort of a catalyst, some sort of the direction from where we've seen so far. But this morning the market is holding up. That doesn't mean this market is going to go back up higher, but we also need to see other factors, and I hope that you are with me. And if you have any question, we do appreciate you just putting up to. And tonight we also have another talk at 9:30 live actually, so make sure you check out the comment below there. But what we have seen right now on the tradevsa.com website, you can see Top Glove, Hata are turning green, and we are up slightly this morning, 0.24%. And what are the sectors that's looking pretty decent and hot right now is energy and finance sector. So make sure you check out those two likelihood on the hot sectors on SMARTRobie in here. So having said that, many of the fundamental picks by in here, and not to forget, you also notice the green foreign fund flows are coming in here. So that tells you in here, looking at the 25th of January, the flow was about plus 89 million. So that means foreign funds are not leaving. We probably have that support that we want to see at 1500 level in here. So always look at the market leader. Right now we are seeing, because market are turning weak, only when you get into the more bullish market time frame that you want to be looking at the second legger in here. Market leader is important to maintain where the market is likely to be heading off. Not much on the notification in here, and let's go on what we have for you this morning in our roundup news headline. Now, in first news roundup headline is the performance of the KLCI. I think you have seen before, following the green Pentagon and the red Pentagon in and out may have put you in a better position. You have seen this market have really struggled from the last 1 year, hitting high of 160, and you notice we have a triple top. That's right, a triple top in here. We also have a double bottom around 1480, 1460. That's likely where the market's going to be, at least in my opinion, to the general election 15. What do you think? Do you think this market's going to go up during the time of what we've seen on the general election? Now take note, the general election should happen or must happen before July 2023. So those are the important dates. So we still have another 16 to 18 months more to go while this market can range bound in here. Definitely we will see some struggling, buying at support, probably selling at resistance. That's going to be the strategy going forward in here. If you try to buy high when the market breaks out, you are likely to be disappointed in here, because the bulls are bear, like what you say, are fighting right now. Let's move on to the next story that we have for you is the Econ frame or E frame. All right, let's go into the SMARTRobie in here. You can check out the SMARTRobie, but the news are probably saying that the quarterly net profit is up 62%, as such that during the company saw the revenue increases by 15% to 13.3 million from 11.5 7, driven by manufacturing registering higher frame. Now this seems to be interesting. We are seeing a lot of building material being up, and we all know some of the prices has gone up and property prices has begun to go up, and there was a pickup too in REITs and property segment in the US market, and that's why some of these stories are picking up. But you notice from here onwards, since the Green Pentagon in early January, unlike many other sectors, some of the sectors has been so-called has really struggled. We all know the technology sector, but the building sector in here, you could see a little bit low volume. This is a low cap stock, a small cap stock, around 176 million here. Check it out on the fundamental of SMARTRobie, but tall tale sign that the chart has really moved up high, and if you are in this chart, think to take some profit. Definitely the Green Pentagon will put you in a very, very nice way. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the second story that we have. Is again building construction, building material, home REITs posing higher profit in the first quarter in here. So you can see the charts has already make up, and many of these prices started to run up first, just very similar to what we saw on E-frame. After it comes out, then good news. This is no surprises, isn't it? Of course, when you buy at these good news, you're tending to have to run off to probably quickly take profit. Though that's why many of you who have noticed by following our channel Trade VSA, you will not succumb to a lot of the smart money buying on good news. Only amateur buy on good news. I suppose if you are listening now, you are at least better than amateur, knowing what we talk about in VSA. If not, do check out our VSA masterclass, which we were happening on February, just after Chinese New Year. That's a class that you want to be educated, and that's a class that you want to be constantly upgrading your skill as an investor and trader, which will pay benefits, right, going into a stronger market that we've seen experience in the US market. So right now, home REITs has a red Pentagon likelihood. This chart will move sideways, and you can see home REITs saw a net profit increase by almost 16% to 8.475 million the same quarter, strengthening US dollar too. Remember, US dollar are strengthening right now. Now, next story, again, Pohat, another furniture maker back in Batu Pahat site in here. Now, if you look from here onwards, this one has a much better base, right? Unlike the chart that we've seen early just now for home REITs, Pohat seems to be giving a buy call from TA Securities, and right now is doing about 135. A very nice base support in here. Of course, you can always go over to Pohat, P-O-H-U-A-T. So we can focus now on the fundamental side. So just on top of me here, you could see that is giving it a 3 out of 8 ratings. A pretty good one in here. And guess what? Look at the dividend. 6% dividend with a buy call at 184. It's not going to be like one of those tech stocks that pop, fly up, straight up. But this is one of those what we call value play. And, you know, probably riding on the build back economy reopening theme in here. All right, let's move on to our next news. Now, our next news is on plantation. We all know plantation breaking into the 5,200, and also the weather, La Nina, has played into it. Yields are lower in here. And I also spoke to one of the plantation buyer. They are finding very difficult to get labor to harvest in here, and many of the fruit palm oil fruit branches are being left to rot because they couldn't find labor. And also we all know the cost of labor has gone up, fertilizer has gone up, and that is putting a lot of pressure to the smaller plantation. Of course, Hapsing seem to be doing much better in here, and you could see their core earnings really surged. You know, they're expected to pay dividend between 10 to 11%. So let's take a look at Hapsing from the fundamental. Hapsing here, Hapsing plantation, HSP plant, and looking at the stock fundamentals, you can see from here, which is giving it a 4 out of 8, a 3% dividend with a PE of 9, and that's certainly looking very good. So right now you have a green Pentagon building up from a very low base. Will this give any Hapsing going higher? Let's take a look at the stock price this morning here, and it's almost unchanged. It's not one of the big favor. Definitely at Hapsing, 7 ringgit 60 cents. You are at the right base in here. Good chart to look at, and these are the kind of charts that I usually like too. All right, next move on to our next news. All All right, now the next news focus right now on the US as we talk about what I've said earlier on. Now, US is undergoing a lot of pressure on the interest rate, and they are awaiting for the US FOMC Jerome Powell meeting minutes to be coming out whether they will raise interest rate. Now, if you look back in terms of the history that we talk about, every time the interest rate has been raised, that's where the economic start to get stronger, start to mobilize, and you have growth. The stock market's usually going to go up. So to me, this is definitely a wonderful area to be buying deep. Now, we as so-called becoming more professional in our approach, moving away being from amateur, we need to learn to like bad news, right? You want to be buying at dips, you want to be buying at correction, and this is definitely a good time to be buying. So that's what differentiates the boys from the men when it comes to being a trader, an investor. So can you buy on dips, or are you fearful when the market goes down in here? So of course the stocks here we talk about is another rough ride. As I said before, last night we have the Dow Jones falling more than 800 points before recovering, and that seems to be good. And we're still pretty much in the correction mode. That doesn't mean the market's going to go up, but in the shorter time frame there are a couple of trades that you can do, and also this does give you a good opportunity. So you can look from the chart that we see in here. Right now the Pentagon guider hasn't turned green Pentagon, but we have seen early on the red Pentagon was spot on again. The market broke through the 4,500 support. So if you look back at 4,800 to 4,000, that is almost more than 10% drop. We have a spring here. Now remember, spring is one of the strongest in terms of sign of strength, right? That doesn't mean the market's going to go straight up. That means likelihood the downtrend has temporarily paused and likely to move sideways. We want to see some more price action, some more VSA, good trade setup, looking for sign of strength before this move up. And this is what we usually talk about in our masterclass. Having those skills will definitely put you in the right position rather than listening to tips. Okay, so right here you can see this market holding up at 4350 in here, and that's where you can also check out SMARTRobie on the on the US segment in here. Of course, the stocks from continuing where we left off is the announcement of Microsoft, which they did came out after the closing bell, and it was a very, very good result, beating expectation by more than 20%. But yet you can see revenue gone by 20% in the latest quarter to 51.7 billion. Of course, this really gives you a telltale sign of what's really happening. Revenues are good, but because of the interest rate hike, tech stocks in the beginning, and this is why I say now growth are still there, because these are proof and trial stocks that all of us really know this by household name. And Microsoft, you look from a chart wise in here, is also correcting, right? And Microsoft went through a correction of $340 going down, touching almost 300. So you can see that is 340 more than 10%, right? So that is again another buying opportunity if you're longer term in it. Now Microsoft's just not going to go away, as I continue to be very bullish in it. But I will talk more about tonight on those sectors which are safe and what are the stocks that I really like. So make sure you join me at 9:30 tonight here. All right. So right now Microsoft is correcting. Wait for the green Pentagon if you intend to look at it. And that's all from the SMARTRobie and for the US segment. Definitely, let's move on to the Singapore market now. The Business Times Singapore are talking a lot about Keppel REITs, Star Hill Global REITs and so forth, but one stock really stand out is UOB, right? Now if you look at UOB chart, but before we get on to UOB chart, let's take a look at the SMARTRobie chart for the STI. As I said before, many times when the US market started to turn, the KLCI market started to turn, and finally we have the SGX turning red Pentagon, you could see here. So all markets tend to follow very, very similar. It did hit new high, but you look back at the old support that we have at 3220. That is likelihood where this will be a good area to be looking to buying. But the stocks we are in top is UOB. The banking stock has done pretty well, aligned with the interest rate hike that we are likely to see. Some say 3, some say 4, and because of this 3 and 4 and some say 5, that's why we see the kind of volatility that we're seeing in the US market in here. And this stock has really rifled up almost 10% from $27 to almost $30, and you already have a red Pentagon. So if you are in early for the financial stocks do take some profit in here, because once that news is out, yes, interest rate is high, you will see profit taking in the finance sector, and they will do a rotational to the technology stocks. Okay, so keep that in mind. And so let's revisit some of our trade idea. We're going to be looking at the existing one like Hectare and CoStar. So they are pretty much in the same area like what we talk about oil and gas and finance. So we want to stay very closely to the thematic like early on. If you go on to the SMARTRobie and TradeVSA website here. So from here onwards, you will probably know, on top of me here, the sectors are energy and finance. So you notice on my stock list that we're talking about, pretty much in the same area too. Let's bring out those charts that we are looking at. Okay, here we are. So first one is Hectare. When we first talk about it, okay, early on in a couple of episodes in there. Now, if you have any stock that you want me to look at, please pencil into the comment. I'll be happy to look into it. You can see Hectare still doing well. Even you have a big reversal yesterday, still holding up, and it's above the 2040. So that's looking very good for Hectare. You want to keep that one. CoStar, let's take a look at CoStar. And for those of you having a real-time system like the trade, this system is difficult. Now, having said that, CoStar has breakdown, and today is up almost by 10%, the kind of shake-up that you see in here, right? And this is on the daily chart on CoStar, straight up, back down in here, but still staying above the ATR stop loss. So a lot of these stocks tend to be very, very volatile due to what we're seeing on the US. And more importantly, you could see it didn't trade below the zero line of the market stages. All right, that's pretty good. So on the green area here, that seems to be very safe, but take note, once it started to move below the zero line, that's the one that you want to be very, very careful, like the one you saw over here. When it broke through the zero line, then it can accelerate to the downwards in here. All right, so right now still okay, stay above it. If the market were to move up to the red line of the market stages in here, again, this is our market stages, that's the one is the danger area, and immediately you could see profit taking in here. But if you have capturable a sizable, then if you have gone in during the green pentagon here, and if you can see this red one light here, that is a 63% return. I think that's pretty decent, right? I think that's pretty good too, if you can catch one of these stocks so far here. All right, next one we have Mbsb for our market stages here. Okay, stage 2 market stages. So Mbsb again, very similar, turn red pentagon, holding up above the red line. We have a lot of selling in here. Keep in mind, if you scroll up on the chart here, the foreign funds are still in pretty much in here. So I do think it would hold above the ATR stop loss. The red pentagon are merely for those of you who want to take some profits in here. You can see move up to here. That's about a 7% for Mbsb. And usually banks tend to be like that because they don't have such a big movement. You can see this big fall in here was due to the liquidity issues that we have seen before in here. But once they start talking about the interest rate, right, you can see a lot of financials tend to be coming back in here. Another similar one will be RCE cap. Right now RCE cap went through big sell-off in here and then push back up here, holding up around 174 in here. So this one will tells you likelihood the market is undergoing some profit taking, breaking below the ATR stop loss. So it's better good for you to exit those once you break through the ATR stop loss to prevent it from moving, any chance of moving lower. And also take note, it has gone through this breakdown in here. You could see as soon as the market broke through here, that's where you want to be out in here. All right, so this stock will probably range bound again. Right now it's on the green area in here, but you need to wait until when it pops above the zero level. Okay, that's the zero level, will be a nice area to be looking to think to buy in here. All right, so those are the so-called trade idea previously that we have. And one of the things that you could do, switching back to our trade VSA Robie chart is to put it into our watch list that you see here. So in our watch list, we have this Pentagon January list. We have the so-called watch list trade VSA episode 7. Right in here, we're looking at stage 2s. So stage 2, we also have Armada, Coastal, and Hector. Let's take a look at Armada, okay, which we did put it in previously. So a lot of your stock list idea you want to be putting in there, and you will get alert. Now remember, take note, Armada was notified on the turned green Pentagon on 27th of December. So you can see right now, and we have a target profit of 54.40, right? 54.5. You can see 54.5, right? We already hit that likelihood already. So we hit our profit target at 54.5. okay, that was on 24th of December in here, but it does look like you have a chance to go any higher. So if you want to change the Armada, so go over the Robie chart, we want to look at the trading plan. All right, if you have Armada and you want to get it a bit higher, so you go on to Armada and you go on to trading idea, and that's where you look at R1 and R2. R2 is 058, okay, and R1 is 045. 454 we already hit, so what we want to do is change it to 045, and weekly resistance is 454, okay, weekly resistance is 454, and that the weekly resistance is 454. And let's look at the so-called exit strategy, because we also want to set the lower bounds, okay, the lower bound in here, weekly support is at 51 cents. So now what we do is we go on to the watch list, go to the stage 2 share, go to Armada, and we edit the stock alert. All right, early on we will have is, okay, what we saw just now was at 51, lower bound, so we make sure we move our trailing stops, and then the high one is 58. Okay, we set it together, we save the alert. So right now, if you notice, we have moved our alert to 58 cents. That could be a profit target. Okay, that could be a profit target from a technical, but it does show you it is a weekly resistance. Then you have the 51 cents in here. So that looks pretty good for Armada. So along why we do this, we keep to the sectors which is important in here, sticking to Armada, Mbsb, Coastal, and Hector. All right, so this is the one that will give you some sort of stability in here. Of course, tonight we'll be looking at a couple of technology stock that are base building and looking for a good run that we have in here. So those are your stage 2 shares. I won't be editing anything new in it. So for our new features, so make sure you check out the watch list in here. For episode 156, which is today, January 26, we will still maintain what we have, but if you look from here on top of me, there are Echo World, DNAX, and revenue. That looks a bit of a run, so we just stay to what we have. I'm not going to add 2 more. The 4, I suppose it's good enough that you see on the left hand side in here. But if you have time, check out Echo World, check out DNAX, and also let's take a look at it here. KLCI Robie chart and ST2. Right, and these are the Heng Yuan revenue, and make sure you see those trade setup is favorable to you. All right, tonight will be the talk. Has the market bottomed yet, and what are the safest share to look for? All right, so make sure you check out some of the stocks and also our timing tonight 9:30. So I'll see you in our free live Facebook talk. Okay, and don't forget, our registration for our masterclass 3-day course is still ongoing, and if you have not attended in here, I think this is a good chance for you to start off fresh for the year February 2022, a new way to look from the price and volume market in here. If you have learned a lot from our little small segment they have done, just think about the greater benefit that you have, and you will be looked after by our coaches and also by our trainer Zach in here, which will give you a good roundup of support in all your trading in here. And we want to make sure if there is a lot of good opportunity, you're able to benefit from it. All right, so let's move on to our stock discussion in here. Any stock review that you want me to do, just pencil those in there, and I'm happy to look at them. All right, just bring this thing up here. So if there is no more stock pick, don't forget to join our, subscribe to our Trade VSA YouTube channel, and also do share our Telegram chat in your and that's a QR code if you want to join our educational and tips, educational material in here to put you up in the right spot as a good trader looking from a price and volume in here. And thank you for your support so far that we have in here, and we couldn't do it without you in here. I'll see you tonight at 9:30 for our talk, and if you have any stocks we're going to be looking at more in depth tonight. See you then. Bye bye.